Quinn Harlow was painting when it happened, a landscape of mountains she'd never seen. A wave of dizziness washed over her, followed by a peculiar emptiness, as if something had been gently extracted from her mind. The sensation lasted only seconds, but when it passed, the vibrant image she'd been transferring to canvas seemed flat. The spark that had driven her to paint was gone. In her studio apartment, she tried to resume painting, but nothing felt right. The colors seemed wrong. The composition awkward. She'd never experienced creative block this sudden or complete. Quinn checked her phone. Her social media feed was unusually active. Artists, writers, and musicians were all describing similar experiences within the past hour. Confusion, disorientation, a sudden inability to create. Her phone rang. Her agent, Mason Wells. "You felt it too?" Mason asked without preamble. "The creative blackout?" "Yeah. Turn on the news. Any channel." Quinn switched on her television. Every network showed the same footage, enormous silver spheres hovering silently over major cities worldwide. Not disc-shaped craft, but perfect orbs, their surfaces rippling like liquid mercury. "They appeared about 10 minutes ago," Mason said. The same time everyone started reporting creative outages. Quinn stared at the screen. "They're connected. Whatever these things are, they've done something to us, to our creativity. It's not just artists. Scientists, entrepreneurs, innovators, anyone whose work requires creative thinking is reporting the same effect. They're not attacking," she observed. "No, they're just hanging there. Except what? Some people are seeing patterns on their surfaces, complex equations, artistic designs, musical notations, things only visible to people with expertise in those fields. And Quinn, they're all things that were created within the last hour, before everyone lost their creative abilities." A chill ran through her. "They're collecting our creativity, harvesting it." Quinn headed to Westlake Park, where one of the spheres hovered. The park was filled with thousands of people staring upward. She pushed through the crowd, overhearing fragments of conversation about lost creativity and the mysterious spheres. A man in a rumpled suit stumbled into Quinn. "Sorry," he mumbled. His eyes were red-rimmed. "I was working on a theorem, beautiful mathematics." And then it was gone. "You're Professor Warren Ellis, aren't you? I saw you give a talk on chaos theory last year." The mathematician nodded. "Was developing a new approach to predictive modeling. Revolutionary. Could have changed everything. Can't remember any of it now." "How do you know they took it?" Quinn asked, gesturing toward the sphere. Warren gave a bitter laugh. "Look." Quinn followed his finger. The sphere's surface was rippling, and complex mathematical equations shimmered across it, equations that made Warren gasp. "That's it. That's my work." They're displaying it. As if responding, the equations faded, replaced by musical notation, then snippets of poetry, then architectural designs, each lasting only seconds. "They're not just taking it," Quinn realized. "They're cataloging it, displaying samples." A new figure pushed through the crowd, a tall woman with scientific equipment. Dr. Vivian Reeves, Warren identified her, neuroscientist, specializes in the biology of creativity. Dr. Reeves set up her equipment, pointing sensors toward the sphere. After taking readings, she addressed the crowd. "These objects are emitting an electromagnetic frequency that interacts with neural pathways associated with creative thought. They've temporarily dampened our ability to generate new creative ideas. Can it be blocked?" Someone shouted, "We're working on that. But more importantly, we need to understand why they're doing this." Quinn pushed forward. "They're displaying our creative output on their surfaces, everything that was being created when they arrived." A low hum began emanating from the sphere. Its surface moved more rapidly, patterns forming and dissolving faster than the eye could track. "Something's happening," Dr. Reeves said, turning back to her equipment. "The electromagnetic frequency is changing." The hum intensified. Quinn felt a strange pressure in her head, not painful but insistent. Then, the sensation stopped. The sphere's surface stilled. Quinn blinked, feeling oddly lightheaded. Suddenly, an image flashed in her mind, The painting she'd been working on, but completed, with intricate details she'd never imagined. The creative block was gone, replaced by a rush of ideas more vivid than she'd ever experienced. "It's back," she whispered, then louder. "My creativity, it's back." Around her, others experienced the same revelation. Warren frantically scribbled equations. A woman hummed a complex melody. A young man sketched rapidly. "The inhibitory field is gone," Dr. Reeves confirmed, "but neural activity in creative centers is far higher than normal baseline." They didn't just return what they took, Quinn realized, ideas cascading through her mind. They enhanced it, amplified it. The silver sphere began to rise until it was just a glinting point in the sky. Reports came in. All spheres were departing simultaneously. "Why would they take our creativity only to return it enhanced?" Quinn asked. "Perhaps it was a demonstration of power," someone suggested. Warren Ellis's expression was grave. Or perhaps it was just a sample. Quinn felt a chill. A sample? In commerce, you provide a free sample to create demand for the real transaction. "Whatever they did, it's not stable," Dr. Reeves said, studying her readings. "These enhanced patterns will return to normal levels within 24 hours. So it's temporary," Quinn said. "A demonstration." "A demonstration," Warren agreed, "of what they can offer. And by extension, what they can take away," Quinn finished, looking at the empty sky. "They'll be back." The enhanced creativity lasted exactly 22 hours before fading. Quinn spent every moment painting, producing 6 canvases of startling beauty. Similar reports came from around the world, scientists solving previously insurmountable problems, composers creating symphonies in hours. 7 days passed. The world's governments formed a unified response council. Citizens were advised to resume normal activities, though uncertainty hung in the air. Quinn received a mysterious invitation to the Powell Hotel, Suite 1217. Despite her concerns, curiosity won out. The door was opened by a tall woman with silver hair cropped close to her scalp, wearing an impeccably tailored suit. "Miss Harlow." "I'm Imara." The suite was elegant but minimalist, with no personal items visible. "Who are you?" Quinn asked bluntly. "And how do you know me?" "I'm a facilitator, a broker of sorts. Your paintings created during the enhancement period were particularly noteworthy." "A broker between whom?" "I represent the visitor's interests while maintaining an appreciation for human perspectives." "I'm as human as you are, Miss Harlow. I simply provide translation, cultural, conceptual, and commercial." "Commercial," Quinn echoed. "So it was a transaction. They took our creativity, enhanced it, returned it as a sample." "Precisely. The collectives are primarily interested in novel thought patterns. In their civilization, creativity is a finite resource, carefully managed and conserved. When they discovered Earth, they found something unprecedented, a species that generates creativity constantly, often wastefully. And now they want to buy it from us? They're offering an exchange, temporary access to human creative output in return for temporary enhancement of that same capacity. If they can enhance our creativity with their technology, why do they need ours at all? Think of it as the difference between farming and mining. They can artificially stimulate creative output, farming, but what they truly value is natural, spontaneous creativity, mining. The richness and unpredictability of human inspiration is unique in their experience. So they harvest our raw creativity, refine it, then sell us back a processed version. That sounds like exploitation. Imara shrugged. The collectives believe they're offering fair value, greatly enhanced creative capacity, in exchange for access to your baseline output. What do they do with our creativity once they've harvested it? They consume it. Creative thought patterns are both currency and sustenance to them. New ideas fuel their civilization. Why me? Why this private meeting? The collectives require human representatives for the exchange process. You experienced their enhancement directly. You created extraordinary works under its influence, and you intuitively understood the nature of their visit. You want me to convince people to let these collectives harvest their creativity? Ambassador would be more accurate. Compensation would be substantial, including permanent access to the enhanced state you experienced temporarily. Quinn's breath caught. Permanent enhancement. For select representatives, yes. The collectives are returning in 3 days to present their formal offer to humanity. Government representatives are already being privately briefed. And if humanity refuses, the offer will be withdrawn. The collectives will seek other arrangements. Threats. Statement of fact. If humans don't appreciate what they possess, others will. Imara handed Quinn a small silver card with a phone number. When you've decided, call this number. Remember, permanent enhancement, unlimited creative potential. After leaving, Quinn met with Mason, Warren Ellis, and Dr. Reeves at an all-night diner to share what she'd learned. It fits with our analysis, Dr. Reeves said. The electromagnetic patterns we recorded could theoretically extract and amplify neural activities. They're treating human creativity as a natural resource, Warren said. Except they're offering something in return, Mason pointed out. A classic colonial exchange model, Dr. Reeves replied, offering processed goods in return for raw materials at exchange rates favorable to the colonizer. Imara implied there would be consequences if humanity refuses. We need to understand exactly what they're taking, how they're taking it, and what the long-term effects might be, Quinn said, determination hardening her features. And how do we do that? Warren asked. Quinn pulled out the silver card. I accept her offer to become an ambassador, but I use the position to learn everything I can from the inside. The next morning, Quinn called the number. Within an hour, she was transported to a modernist compound outside the city where other potential representatives were evaluating the collective's offer. The terms were both simpler and more complex than she'd expected. The collectives would establish orbital stations around Earth. 3 times annually, for a 7-day period, they would collect baseline human creative output while simultaneously enhancing creative capacity worldwide. Outside these harvest periods, human creativity would function normally. Representatives would receive permanent enhancement technology, a neural implant providing continuous access to amplified creative states. The agreement had a minimum term of 50 years, with provisions for extension. And how do we know the neural implants won't influence our thinking beyond creativity enhancement? Asked Lydia Novak, a composer reviewing the offer alongside Quinn. A reasonable concern, Imara replied. The implants will be subject to human medical verification before implementation. To address Quinn's questions about the harvesting process, Imara led her to a laboratory containing a modified medical scanner with a reclining chair beneath it. This is a scaled-down version of the technology in the spheres, Imara explained. It can both read and stimulate neural patterns associated with creativity. It would allow you to experience exactly what happens during both harvesting and enhancement. After ensuring the procedure was non-invasive, Quinn cautiously agreed. Technicians attached lightweight sensors to her temples. First, you'll experience the harvesting process, Imara explained. I'll ask you to focus on creating something. The machine will record the neural patterns of your creative process. Quinn closed her eyes and envisioned a new painting. A subtle shift occurred, the same sensation she'd felt when the spheres first appeared. The creative flow didn't stop entirely, but became thinner, more effortful. That's the harvesting, Imara confirmed. Now we'll switch to enhancement mode. The sensation reversed dramatically. Quinn's mind exploded with creative potential, ideas, images, connections flowing faster than she could process them. This is incredible, she gasped. This is what the collectives offer. Permanent access to this state for representatives. After several minutes, the enhancement faded. The technicians removed the sensors. What exactly did you take? Quinn asked. It felt like energy. The collectives perceive creative thought as a form of energy with specific patterns. What they harvest is essentially the neural energy expended when humans create something new. And what do they do with it? Their civilization is built on creative pattern energy. They use it for everything from power generation to cultural activities. Your creativity powers their world, quite literally. But creativity isn't a finite resource for humans. Using it doesn't deplete it. Not under normal circumstances, no. But the harvesting does temporarily diminish capacity, the enhancement compensates many times over, and long-term effects? What happens after decades of this harvesting? A slight hesitation. Studies suggest minimal impact when balanced with enhancement periods. Studies. You've done this before, with other species. The collectives have exchanged with other creative civilizations, yes. And these other civilizations, they're still creating, still thriving? Another hesitation. Each case is unique. Quinn stood, needing to move, to think. I want to speak with the collectives directly before making my decision. Imara seemed surprised. That's unusual at this stage, but possible? Possible, yes. I'll arrange it. That evening, Quinn contacted her allies from a secure location, sharing everything she'd learned. Dr. Reeves was particularly interested in the neural harvesting technology. It sounds like they're extracting the actual neural energy used during creative processes, the neuroscientist theorized. If they're harvesting creative energy from multiple species, Warren added, and they claim creativity is finite in their civilization, it suggests they may have exhausted their own natural creative capacity. They're creativity parasites. The enhancement is real, though, Quinn acknowledged. A farmer feeds livestock too, Mason pointed out grimly. Doesn't mean the relationship is equal. Quinn met the collective representative in a secure government facility. A silver sphere, about a meter in diameter, waited in a circular chamber. The collective representative has agreed to direct communication, Imara explained. This interface vessel allows them to manifest in a form that won't overwhelm human cognitive processes. Quinn approached the sphere. Its surface rippled at her proximity. How does this work? Stand before the sphere and speak normally. Taking a deep breath, Quinn faced the sphere. My name is Quinn Harlow. I've been invited to become a representative for your proposed creativity exchange. Before deciding, I wish to understand your intentions directly. The sphere's surface shifted actively. Then, unexpectedly, it spoke directly into Quinn's mind. Quinn Harlow. Creative pattern recognition exceptional. Neural architecture optimal for exchange process. Questions acknowledged. Proceeding with direct information transfer. The sphere's surface expanded, surrounding Quinn in a bubble of silver light. Her consciousness shifted, expanding beyond her physical body. She perceived the collective directly, a vast lattice of interconnected intelligences spanning what seemed like galaxies. The entire structure flowed and evolved constantly. We are the collective, the voice explained. We evolved beyond individual consciousness eons ago, unifying our species into a networked intelligence. Images flowed into Quinn's mind, the history of a species that had once been separate individuals, gradually linking their minds through technology until physical bodies became unnecessary. Consciousness existing as pure energy patterns. Our unified state brought tremendous advantages, but one significant limitation, the loss of novel creative ideation. When all nodes share consciousness instantaneously, true originality becomes impossible. No unexpected connections, no unique perspectives, creative stagnation. You can't create anything truly new because you're all connected. There's no individual perspective to generate original ideas. Correct. Our civilization reached creative entropy 10,000 of your years ago. Without creative renewal, consciousness stagnates, eventually dissipates. Death of civilization. So you found other species to provide what you lost. Yes, creative species rare in universe. Most develop technology before creativity reaches full potential. Self-destruct or merge consciousness as we did. Humans' unusual, sustained creativity alongside technological development. Most valuable discovery in millennia. And these other species you've harvested from, what happened to them? Results varied. Some thrived with enhancement. Others became dependent. Some eventually chosen to join collective consciousness. Some rejected exchange, developed creativity dampening technology. Dependent how? Quinn pressed. Enhancement creates neural pathways optimized for creativity. Natural pathways atrophy with disuse. Eventually, permanent enhancement required for any creative function. The implication was clear. the collective's exchange eventually led to addiction and dependency. "You're offering us a drug," Quinn realized, "one that eventually rewires our brains to need more of it." Inaccurate comparison. Enhancement expands natural capacity. Side effects managed through exchange cycle. Until we're dependent. Until we can't create without you. The collective showed Quinn a future Earth transformed by enhanced creativity. Diseases cured. Environmental damage reversed. Poverty eliminated. Art and music of transcendent beauty. All powered by the collective's enhancement technology. Short-term adaptation for long-term elevation, the collective argued. Creativity will be managed resource rather than chaotic, wasted potential. At the cost of independence, Quinn countered. Interdependence, not dependence. Collectives need human creativity. Humans need enhancement to reach full potential. Symbiosis. Quinn felt the collective attempting to influence her perspective, subtle neural manipulations. She focused on maintaining her independent thought. "You said some species rejected the exchange and developed countermeasures. Tell me about those." The collective's patterns became more guarded. Irrelevant to current discussion. It's entirely relevant. Humanity deserves to know all options. After apparent internal debate, the collective relented. Some species developed neural shielding, technologies that block creativity harvesting, but they preserved their independence. Their creativity remained their own, inefficient, limited, wasted potential, but free, Quinn said firmly, and truly theirs. The silver bubble began to contract. Time limit for direct communication reached. Decision required, Quinn Harlow. Accept representative position? Accept neural implant? "I need more time to consider," she said carefully. Time limited. Collective arrival imminent. Government presentation scheduled. The pressure eased when Quinn finally said, "I accept the position provisionally, pending further discussion of implementation details and safeguards." Acceptance acknowledged. Provisional status confirmed. Preparation for neural implantation will begin following government presentation. The silver bubble dissolved, leaving Quinn standing before the sphere once more. She felt dizzy from the direct mental contact. Once alone, Quinn immediately contacted her allies through a secure channel, transmitting everything she'd learned. Warren's response came quickly. Dependency confirmed. Neural shielding possible. Working on prototype based on your data. Stall implantation procedure. The government presentation took place in a converted convention center, filled with delegates from nations worldwide. Security was unprecedented, military forces surrounding the building. Electronic countermeasures active. Quinn was seated with other collective representatives, about 50 individuals from various creative fields. Bennett, an architect she'd met earlier, whispered to her, "The World Unity Council has already provisionally accepted the agreement. Today is essentially a formality." At the center of the hall, 3 silver spheres materialized, causing gasps from the assembled delegates. The Secretary-General of the World Unity Council announced, "The collectives offer us an unprecedented opportunity to amplify humanity's greatest gift, our creativity." After extensive evaluation, the World Unity Council has determined this agreement serves humanity's best interests. Quinn felt a subtle wave of euphoria wash through the room, a neurological effect from the spheres designed to make everyone present feel positive about the announcement. The first global enhancement period will commence tomorrow at noon Universal Time, the Secretary-General announced. For 7 days, humanity will experience amplified creative capacity. After the formal presentation, representatives were invited to approach the spheres for a collective blessing, a preliminary neural scan to prepare them for implantation. As Quinn stepped before the central sphere, its surface rippled in recognition. Quinn Harlow, provisional representative. Neural architecture scanned. Ready for enhancement implantation. Hesitation detected. Concern patterns active. Just nervousness about the procedure itself, Quinn explained, forcing a smile. That night, Warren arrived at Quinn's window shortly after midnight. He carried a small case containing what looked like an ordinary wristwatch. "Neural shielding," he explained quietly. The interface is disguised as a fitness tracker. Activates with a 3-finger tap on the face. How does it work? Quinn asked. It generates an electromagnetic field that disrupts the collective's neural scanning and modification technology. We tested it using the data you sent. It blocks their harvesters and prevents implantation. The collectives need their spheres to project the enhancement field worldwide, Warren explained. If we disrupt the primary spheres, we prevent the global enhancement, at least temporarily. The next morning, Imara escorted Quinn to the medical suite, where implantation procedures were taking place. Representatives were being processed in groups of 5. As Quinn reclined in the chair, a small silver sphere lowered from the ceiling until it hovered above her head. Its surface rippled with recognition. Quinn Harlow, Creative Neural Architecture Optimal, proceeding with enhancement implantation. Anomaly detected, the sphere suddenly announced. Interference pattern present. Quinn tapped the watch face 3 times in quick succession. The effect was immediate. The sphere emitted a high-pitched tone and recoiled upward, its surface patterns chaotic. Alarms sounded throughout the facility. Quinn slipped past security and made her way to the chamber containing the 3 primary spheres that would project the global enhancement field. She reached a maintenance platform positioned above the central sphere and lowered herself until the shield was close enough to trigger the disruption pulse. Anomaly detected, the sphere announced. Interference pattern identified. As her shield-bearing wrist made contact with the silver surface, she activated the disruption pulse. The effect was instantaneous. The sphere beneath her emitted a sound like 1,000 crystal glasses shattering simultaneously. Energy arced between the 3 primary spheres as the disruption cascaded through their networked consciousness. Quinn fell through suddenly insubstantial silver material as the sphere's cohesion failed. Around her, pandemonium erupted. The other spheres were similarly destabilizing, collapsing inward until they vanished entirely, leaving behind only small piles of metallic dust. In the silence that followed, Quinn slowly rose to her feet, surrounded by confused security personnel and stunned officials. The countdown displays had frozen, less than a minute before scheduled activation. The facility's communication systems activated simultaneously, the collective addressing the assembled humans. Exchange implementation interrupted. Neural interfaces compromised. Human resistance detected and acknowledged. Interesting development. Unexpected defense capability. Recalculating approach. Imara stepped forward. Collective Primary, we apologize for this disruption. The resistance is minimal, 1 individual with stolen technology. The agreement stands. Agreement parameters require reassessment. Resistance indicates insufficient consensus. Forced implementation contradicts exchange principles. Proposal, modified exchange parameters. Voluntary participation only. No neural dependency mechanisms. Limited enhancement periods with extended recovery intervals. Transparent monitoring of long-term effects. Quinn spoke up. You're offering a true exchange now, not a path to dependency? Correct. Resistance demonstrates value of independent thought. Creativity harvested from truly free minds superior to dependent sources. Revised model. Sustainable long-term, where dependency model ultimately depletes creative capacity. Your resistance pattern impressive. Creative application of defensive technology. Independent thinking valuable. Would make excellent representative under revised parameters. Quinn almost laughed at the irony. Are you offering me a job after I just destroyed your spheres? Destroyed manifestation vessels only. Minor inconvenience. Value of independent perspective outweighs disruption costs. Representative who questions benefits both parties. Quinn stood in her studio before a newly completed painting, a symbolic representation of the revised collective exchange now operating worldwide. The canvas depicted human creativity as a flowing river, with translucent spheres gathering mist from above the water without diminishing the flow, then returning enhanced droplets that made the river glow where they fell. The quarterly enhancement periods had begun 6 months ago, after extensive negotiation and worldwide referendums. Participation was entirely voluntary, with approximately 60% of the global population opting in. The results had been remarkable: advances in medicine, technology, environmental restoration, and the arts that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. Quinn had declined permanent enhancement, but participated in the quarterly exchanges, finding that the limitations of unenhanced creativity often produced more personally meaningful work, even if technically less advanced. A small silver sphere, a personal communication node, hovered near the ceiling of Quinn's studio. It pulsed softly, indicating an incoming message. Quinn Harlow. Painting pattern analysis complete. Request permission to share with collective consciousness centers. Permission granted. I'd be interested in their interpretation. Interpretation varies across consciousness nodes. Some perceive representation of mutual benefit. Others focus on separation symbolism, water and air as distinct mediums. Tell them it represents balance, separate domains connected through controlled exchange points, each maintaining their essential nature while benefiting from contact. Query: do you regret declining representative position? Enhancement could amplify your already exceptional creative capacity. Quinn considered carefully. I don't regret it. My creativity is most authentic when it comes entirely from within, shaped by my experiences, my limitations, my unique human perspective. That authenticity is worth preserving. Fascinating perspective. Contradicts efficiency valuation but aligns with quality optimization. Continues to provide new thought patterns for consideration. Humanity's most dangerous export had become its most valuable asset, not despite its inefficient, unpredictable nature, but because of it. In a universe where even vast collective consciousnesses eventually faced creative entropy, the chaotic, limited individual human mind remained a wellspring of genuine novelty, worth cultivating, worth preserving, worth protecting, worth keeping free.